So yes, today I'm going to be giving you guys an overview on Southern Gold and our work here in South Korea. It's a fantastic story and really looking forward to sharing that with everyone. So next slide, thanks. Usual disclaimers, I will be making some forward-looking statements. So Southern Gold, we're a South Korean country play, 100% focused here, working in South Korea. It's a fantastic place to be exploring. It's a frontier destination. It's a bit off the radar compared to a lot of other places in Asia, underexplored by modern exploration methods. We're targeting around about 1 million ounces gold deposits, exploring for gold and silver. And in 2022, we'd expanded our portfolio to include the search for lithium and rare earths. We saw a real opportunity there as well as copper. We're really the only serious exploration company working here in South Korea, so we've got that first mover advantage. It's a fantastic jurisdiction. It's a modern mining jurisdiction. We've got an active drilling program. We're drilling underway, and I'll touch on that in a moment. And we have a fantastic team, highly experienced, track record of discovery, great people. And we're getting increasing interest from potential JV partners and government agencies in the work that we're doing, which is really fantastic and great for us. And the other great news really was just in the process of acquiring a battery commercialization company called Iron Drive to complement our critical minerals research program here and leverage our presence here in South Korea. So yeah, thanks. Next slide. We have a very experienced and wonderful board. They're totally committed to the program here in South Korea. Got a lot of experience in exploration. Doug Kerwin there, who really needs no introduction. Great history with Ivanhoe, assisting in the Oyu Tolgoi deposit discovery in Mongolia. BJ Kim, Executive Vice President of Samsung Australia. Great connections here in South Korea. Michael McNeely, the CEO of the Metal Tiger, one of our larger investors, has a great experience and depth in capital markets. And our chairman, Peter Banford, who's a mining engineer with a fantastic pedigree in Australia, and a really great board and wonderful team for me to work with. Next slide, thanks. Just a snapshot of our capital structure, market cap around about 6 million. We're very well cashed up, around about 3 million in cash at the moment. We're a major shareholder in LSE listed BMV, which is a small boutique miner. It's all up that gives us a total cash and share position of around about 6.4 million. So a very strong balance sheet going forward. Next slide, thanks. So really, South Korea is a great address for mineral deposits. We're part of, I guess, the Northeast Asian emerging world-class province, which hosts a whole variety of different styles of deposits. And South Korea is really part of that geology. In fact, South Korea hosts one of the world's largest tungsten mines called Sandong, which is just in the process of being reopened. We also share geology with the South China Craton, so obviously really great potential for rare earth elements and lithium as well. And South Korea, look, it's just a fabulous place to be exploring and working. It's a powerhouse economy. It's number 10 in the world. It's got a very small mining industry, but it's a net importer of minerals, no mining royalty. But there's a huge smelter and refining destination for the world, so a very fascinating place to be working. And it's a global leader in the lithium battery and EV manufacturing place. And right now the country is going through a major transition to these clean energy technologies. And so we really want to be a part of that future going forward. Next slide, thanks. And in many ways, South Korea has really been overlooked for a lot of its mineral exploration, especially for gold, because there's no real modern exploration going on here at the moment. It's got a history of gold mining going back to about 1000 BC. But it wasn't until the late 80s and early 90s that the recognition of these high-grade epithermal deposits was known. And indeed, it was recognised by our board member, Doug Kerwin, with Ivanhoe when they were exploring here in the late 80s, early 90s. And they found a number of very interesting high-grade deposits, fantastic bonanza grades, silver grades, gold grades over 100,000 grams per tonne. And in fact, the Unsan mine in 2002, the Unsan mine ended up being a direct shipping ore. So just fantastic high-grade deposits. So these are great targets, great projects, because they obviously have very small footprints, and these are the sorts of things that we're exploring for, these epithermal high-grade deposits. Next slide, thanks. So this is one of our major projects called Dokon. It's one of these epithermal high-grade gold-silver deposits. It was mined sporadically over the 1970s over several different levels. Around about 2 million ounces of silver produced, maybe 40,000 ounces gold, but again, very high grades. I think we had surface grades gold returning up to 13,000 grams per tonne silver and up to 80 grams per tonne gold. So a fantastic project. And we've been searching for extensions to the main mine along the main Dokon structure. We just did some drilling in recent weeks, starting back in March into the main structure and also at our Thorn zone. We hit the main structure. We didn't get any significant results, unfortunately. Didn't find any additional shoots at the stage, but got some really interesting mineralization in the hanging wall, which was something quite interesting. And the drilling definitely did highlight the fact that it's a very large epithermal system. So we're going to be continuing exploring along that main structure. We see some really interesting analogues with Vera Nancy in Queensland, but it's an exciting project and certainly a lot more work required. Next slide, thanks. And one of our new projects that we're actually drilling right now is our Gosong copper gold silver project. It covers around about 70 square Ks. It's in an historic copper mining district in South Korea. There's been limited exploration here for gold, a lot mostly for copper. But this represents an exciting new target type, the Southern Gold. It's a bit deeper in these sort of mineral systems. It's more intrusive related. That's probably the kind of thing that's driving the high-grade systems like Dokon. And we see good potential for intrusive related gold systems with analogies to deposits like Kidston, Timbara, and Mount Wright, and indeed Pogo. And we're drilling right now, that picture on the bottom left there, that's a magnetic target combined with soil geochemistry that we're drilling our Bupo anomaly. That's a really great target, and we're doing that right at the moment, and we're really very excited to see the results coming out of that. We've got 4 holes underway there, around about 900 metres, and we should have those assays around about late June and July, so we'll be letting people know about that, but a fantastic project. Next slide, thanks. Well, South Korea is going through a major energy transition to clean energy technologies, and that hasn't been lost on us while we've been here in South Korea. I might add that I'm actually based here in South Korea. And South Korea really needs a lot of lithium and rare earth, and it has a lot of offtake agreements with Australian companies such as Pilbara Minerals for lithium, ASM for rare earth elements. There's a huge push to get these critical minerals into South Korea. It's looking at diversifying its supply chain, obviously with geopolitics in the area, so hence getting strong links with countries like Australia. And so we saw this as an opportunity to look at potential domestic supply of lithium and rare earths here in South Korea. And at the same time, there's a massive push to develop a whole lot of new battery plants. The government's spending around about $35 billion over the next 5 years to build new lithium battery plants. I mean, it is the global powerhouse for EV development and battery technology. And also as a major global leader in recycling of lithium batteries. So a very, very exciting and developing time here in South Korea on the critical minerals front. Next slide, thanks. So as a result of that, we've really developed a fantastic new and exciting lithium exploration portfolio based on a whole bunch of historical government data. And we put together a really good bunch of projects, maybe 5 or 6 projects covering around about nearly 500 square Ks. We're seeing interesting lithium anomalies in stream sets and soils up to 400 ppm. There's limited prior exploration and no drilling, so really good geology. One of our projects is next to the Biome lithium mine, which is sitting in a national park at the moment. That produced lithium back in the 1940s to 60s. So there is history of LCT pegmatite mines here in the area. So we see that as fantastic prospectivity as part of exploration. We've got a very aggressive fieldwork program underway right now, and we've got a whole bunch of assays there. You can see some rocks on the table there, photographed back in April. And we've got some assays pending and really interesting looking geology. And we're looking to want to be drilling these targets sometime in 2024. So a very exciting portfolio. Next slide, thanks. We've put together 2 really exciting rare earth projects as well. There's only 2 known unmined rare earth deposits here in South Korea, and we've got ground right next to them. Indeed, some of these deposits actually poke into our ground, which is quite exciting. The Chongju rare earth deposit covers around about 68 square Ks, and it actually is an alkaline granite deposit. So that's a very, very interesting looking thing. And the other project that we've acquired is our Jungnam carbonatite deposit, which is next to the Hongchon rare earth deposit, which is a really fantastic, huge thing. I can't mention the figures because they're not JORC dependent, but very good TREO grades coming out of that deposit. You can see they're up to 19%. Again, we've been very active exploring these areas. We've got a whole bunch of assays in at the moment for the work that we've been doing at Jungnam. We hope to be making a release next week on those assays, but we think we've got something really very exciting, tiger by the tail with these projects, and we'll be advancing these. And we're looking to drill these projects around about September, October this year before the winter sets in. Next slide, thanks. Perhaps one of our most exciting things that's happened in recent weeks is the acquisition of Iron Drive Technologies. They are a battery commercialization company based in Australia. We did a share placement recently, a private placement for around about $2.5 million. Of 1.2 million was part of that for Iron Drive. That's a strategic investment by Southern Gold, and we saw that as an opportunity to basically add shareholder value and diversify our portfolio. And it really complements our lithium and rare earth work that we're doing here in South Korea and capitalises on our presence here in South Korea in the growing battery technology and recycling market. Now, Iron Drive have a strategic relationship with the University of Adelaide, and it really is leveraging off that fantastic investment into the next generation battery research team led by world-class laureate professors. We've got a reputation second to none. Professor Jingjin Kwao was a 2021 South Australian Scientist of the Year. So these guys are world leaders in their area. So we're fantastic to be part of that. Now, this agreement with the university provides IDT the rights to exclusively license and purchase the intellectual property of 3 commercialization-ready technologies that the university has developed. And I'll talk to those next slide, thanks. So the 3 projects that Iron Drive will be commercialising, the first one is aqueous sodium batteries. These are basically used for energy grid storage. The team have developed basically a low-cost battery that's much more efficient. It doesn't use a lot of critical minerals, and it's fantastic for grid energy storage next generation. The second project are safer lithium metal batteries. These basically have a much longer life. They're much more efficient, and they don't operate at high temperatures, so potential game-changing lithium battery for EVs. And the third project is the team have invented a fantastic solvent, which is super efficient at recycling material from lithium batteries. It's basically non-toxic, and it's really cheap and much more effective at getting the metals out. So a real game changer there. So these are 3 fantastic projects that Iron Drive will be working very hard to commercialise over the next 12 months. Next slide, thanks. So going forward, we've got a very busy time of news flow and activity. We're still drilling our Boson project. We hope to get those assays out next slide, but that's looking great. We're going to be working up our rare earth targets. We're drilling around about September, October, before winter sets in. We're going to be exploring very hard on our ground, looking for LCT pegmatites, and we really want to get those targets worked up for drilling early next year. And as I said, our Iron Drive team, they're going to be exceptionally busy accelerating the commercialisation program of those 3 projects. So a very exciting time for Southern Gold. Appreciate everyone's time hearing about us. So yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks, Robert. We've got a couple of questions here, more than a couple actually. Just the first slide, you had 2 significant shareholders represented about 35%. Can you give us a little bit of background on who that is? Sure.
Metal Tiger is our major shareholder. In fact, Michael McNeely is the CEO of Metal Tiger. They're an investment company. They are a big supporter of us. The other major shareholder is Awalla, which is a firm held by Quentin Flannery, and they own about 14% of us. They've been a long-standing supporter of the stock going forward and been very helpful in terms of putting support for the company going forward.
And we've seen this trend in a lot of our webinars actually, where gold companies are moving into rare earths and potentially lithium, but you've also got a battery technology company that you've just taken an equity position in. What kind of expertise do you bring to the equation? And is the risk that your company's actually doing too much?
Yeah, that's a very good question. These things are always a bit of a calculated risk, and you have to weigh them up. The main thing is the Iron Drive team are the leaders and expertise in this with JC Tan. They have a lot of experience in this, so the involvement of the Southern Gold team won't be as high. We'll have a governance and a management oversight of the project going forward. I'm not an expert in that area by any means. I do have some experience in my previous job with GNS Science in New Zealand, working with their high technology, battery technology research in that area. So I do have some experience in that area. And yes, we have to manage the programs going forward. It will be results driven, but certainly we want to make sure that exploration maintains is our main focus going forward. But certainly it is a matter of balancing the risk across the portfolio and allocating the capital where we can get the best results for shareholders going forward.
And in terms of that, allocating that capital, where's the focus? Is the focus on gold to kind of bring in revenue, or how do you find the right mix?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say roughly about a third. A third of our activity or revenue will be generated towards gold, silver exploration. The other third to the critical minerals. and probably a third next year to the iron drive project going forward. So yeah, around about a third each at this stage. But as I said, it's all results driven. Where we get the best results, that's over the next 12 months, that's where we'll certainly be allocating the capital.
And what about the cost to drill in South Korea compared to Australia? How does it compare?
Actually, it's pretty cheap. As I say, there isn't much of a exploration industry here, but we're drilling around about, I think we're looking at around about maybe, under $200 a meter for diamonds. So, it's exceptionally cheap. So actually the exploration costs here compared to other jurisdictions are pretty favorable.
And just finally, back to the battery business, iron drive. South Korea obviously has its own battery chain. It's a significant player in the game. How are you going to kind of make inroads into that market with, your investment in iron drive?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have good connections in the business side of things through here in South Korea. One of our board members, BJ Kim, Executive Vice President for Samsung Australia, has good connections in that space. So we do have good connections there. And also JC Tan and the rest of the iron drive team, they know a lot of people here in South Korea. So we will be actively reaching out to these people. We've got meetings lined up in other places as well. So there's going to be a pretty concerted effort on that front through the iron drive team to reach out and connect with people here that indeed they already know.